All right, y'all, welcome back to the Abundant Harvest Homestead. It is still my spring fish collecting season for my family, so I got some carp. On our backup channel, I'm actually gonna have a video where I shoot all 5 of these fish in 5 shots. Every shot I took today landed home and got a fish, and none of them pulled off my arrows, which is really cool. So I'm gonna be cleaning 5 carp in this video, and then I'm gonna be talking about something I heard that, if it's true, could lead to a way where a lot of us will actually lose all of our poultry this year. Of course, we hope that doesn't happen. I'm not trying to fearmonger people, but we need to be aware of either A, the potential of things like this already existing, or B, the fact that some of this stuff might be coming down the pipeline. And if either of those are the case, I would rather be aware of something than be ignorant, and I'd rather be able to recognize things if it's not currently happening than just kind of let things go and let them happen. I'll show you also how I'm actually doing this. So with these carp, behind the head, I just make a slit all the way down, and then I follow the backbone to the rib. So on this side, I start slicing in here, all the way down until I'm past the vent where they poop and pee and breed from, and then I slide all the way through and bring it down. So that's kind of the way I work that through. At the moment I got a bunch of half-full batteries, so this is going to be a little choppy, but if you think these are big fish, you should see the 2 I got for last. Those are some big fish. But while I do this fish cleaning, I want to make you guys aware of this. Now, this is secondhand information from me, so I'm proposing it as a potential, but the people I heard it from heard it directly. There's various clubs people can get involved in. Some of those sometimes deal with agriculture, and sometimes those ones that deal with agriculture have kind of certain little perks, like you can get some free or cheap animals to then be entrusted in your care to then show it like a fair or something. Because I did not hear this stuff firsthand, I am not naming anyone by names, but a number of you guys can probably put 2 and 2 together and figure out what I'm talking about. Our children have done some of that before. Since then we took a step back and decided not to do that. Some friends of mine decided they would get some egg-laying birds from this organization, and then, you know, the goal is you get some, you raise them up, and then at the end of the year you can bring them to a fair, and you're supposed to be bringing some in to show them. Right now I do that on both sides, and then I follow the rib cage around to pull the whole fillet off. So my initial cut from the back only runs into the rib cage, and then it goes around it and past, and then now I peeled it off of those ribs to get the fillet off. But of course, when you have something like some bird flu, like some avian flu going around, you have issues and contemplations. We could see a lot of things that people were used to going to, from sporting events to just parks to all sorts of stuff, have been shut down in recent times because of various potential disease concerns. Well, if there's an avian flu and you're supposed to be bringing animals to a fair, how's that going to work? Well, these people were at a meeting, and their claim is that they heard at this meeting that before the fair in the fall, they're going to have some people come out to everyone who's supposed to be bringing the birds. And they're going to test the birds for this avian disease. And if the birds test positive, then all the birds that that person has will be euthanized, will be eliminated. So not only the ones coming to the fair, or supposed to be coming to the fair, but all of them. I'm like, wow, well, that would be terrible to be them. I mean, what if you got a false positive and it costs you not only the birds you were going to bring to the fair, but your ducks, your geese, your guineas, your peacocks, your whatever else you got? But it gets worse. Then they said that they got to go out from there for a 6-mile radius from your property. Look at the size of this. This one here, yeah, that's a male. That's a male, but that's a pretty good sized fish. I'm guessing 4 to 5 pound range. maybe up to about a 6. I'm gonna bring my scale out here and start weighing some of these in the future just to know what I'm dealing with. But then go out from a 6-mile radius and test all of those flocks. So anyone who happens to live near somebody who's signing up for this club, who's kind of entering this agreement that you provide these either cheap or free poultry for me, I'll raise them up and at least bring, you know, 1 per kid to the fair. Then anyone within a 6-mile radius of them, if theirs happens to test positive and all their flock gets euthanized, then yours gets tested, and if they test positive, gets euthanized. Now that's an issue. And I am not personally hearing firsthand that this is the plan. But I have some friends who said they went to a meeting because their children had gotten some of these birds. And that's firsthand what they heard. That's what they're claiming. Now, because I heard that they said that, I figured I'd at least bring it out here. And here's the thing. Number one, my immediate knee-jerk reaction to that was, well, I guess your birds ain't going to make it to fair time. I mean, it looks like yours are probably going to die first, huh? That'd be my response. Secondly, if this is true, a lot of us may have some stuff to worry about this fall. And supposedly some sort of eminent domain type, you know, health issue, emergency may come into play with it. And if that's the case, we got some stuff to worry about. You know, I think we really do. And if it's not the case, what's to stop them from moving into that direction in the future? Now, I don't share this to give anyone nefarious ideas of things to implement, but that idea is already out there. And, you know, we do have the 2 options. Either it's already occurring, or it could. You know, not that it has to. Either this is already a game plan, or it could be. Now, if anyone is able to get a little more direct information than I have, please, by all means, feel free to share something in the comments. I'm not trying to spread any sort of misinformation or anything like that, but I heard this. I had a concern. I trust my source, but I didn't hear it firsthand, so therefore I'm not presenting it. That's a fillet as fact. I'm just saying, heard this. And at this stage of the game, with everything we've all just lived through, and a lot of kind of interesting hoops to jump through to exist for quite a while now, it wouldn't surprise me. And then what's to say next year there's not some cow disease? What's to say the next year there's not some sheep disease? Because they already don't want us having animals. They don't want us having animals that eat grass and then might fart and cause issues for them. So if they don't want it, if they want us eating synthetic meat, if they don't want us to be on our own producers and instead dependents, look at that. Whew. Amazing. And I toss these to my chickens. Some people say not such a good idea. I got to research that out. I had someone contact me and say there's things that they can have in them which are not good for the poultry, or if they get too much, it's not good. So I'll be looking into that. We just try not to waste anything, so that's a resource for me. And if it doesn't work out for my chickens, then maybe in the future we will just be using it for fish emulsion and for garden stuff. But I'm not gardening this year. But I am chickening this year. So far, man, they want us just to be dependent. They want us to do whatever they want us to do. They want us to have to buy from them, to be consumers, not producers. Well, I want to be a producer. I want to be somebody who can head off in the wild and get these for myself rather than going to the store. I want to be someone who on my property can grow a good amount of the food we're going to eat. I want to be somebody who can walk out into the woods and find a good amount of tasty things that are edible, that can fill me with nutrition and vitamins and minerals and nutrients, and help me to thrive rather than just survive. That's what I want to do. So anything I can take jurisdiction of, A, I'm going to try to do, and then B, if there are people who don't want you to be self-sufficient, they're going to try to get you to be more dependent upon them. This is crazy. I should have sharpened these first, but these scales I actually got to cut through to get into that fish. And man, they're pretty big. This one's like the size of a nickel. That's just one scale like the size of a nickel. Pretty crazy, pretty cool. What a good protective layering for these guys. And I should have a while right now that I can still harvest these for my family. I think I put up maybe over 100 pints already, and plan on doing more, and then pickling and smoking and doing other things with this fish. But man, even these 5, this is a good portion of food for my family. If we get to our full, this is at least 2 meals for my family, and that's if we like completely gorged ourselves. But I think that it's important for us, and I hope this video, you know, doesn't even get striked or something else or different stuff. I'm kind of trying to choose my words wisely and just kind of honestly share what I've heard, rather than presenting a bunch of things as I know this to be 100% true. But we need to be able to share information. We need to be able to hear things. We need to be able to warn each other. And the more people aren't allowed to do that, the weaker we become. The more of a threat other things become, because we can't even, you know, warn each other. We can't even exist in a state of affairs where we can keep each other safe. Again, if you guys got any more information on that, please feel free to share it. I might reach out to some other people, and see kind of what they've heard on it. And I've kind of just been considering, because I know there's probably people within 6 miles of me that fall into that category. So that means potentially people could come up to my property and say, hey, we got to do this. And then say, oops, your birds have shown that they have this with our test. Therefore, this is the only option. You know, there's no resisting, there's no whatever else. If they're saying this is a health emergency, this is a eminent domain type thing, that's going to be unfortunate. And what if some things were false? You know, that means there's no compensation for it. It's already getting harder and more difficult to get things. There's already all sorts of food processing plants burning down this year. Please research that if you haven't yet. All sorts of them. Okay, there's a lot of inflation, there's a lot of supply chain disruption. Now there's a bunch of food production plants shutting down. Guess what? The lake didn't shut down yet, so I'm still there. But what's that going to look like for us in the future? What happens if there's some faulty tests that show something happened and it didn't happen? Now I lost all my flock for nothing? You know, that doesn't sound good to me. I don't want to play that game. I don't want to risk everything and not have a control over it. I like taking educated risks. A lot of times if I head out to the lake, I bring backup with me. I bring somebody else with me. That way we've got multiple people. If something happens to one, you've got someone there to help. I don't really like to head out to the lake solo much anymore. I used to do it, sometimes for hours at night, middle of the night. Look at that fillet. All right, that's the first 3. Let's check these big ones. Look at that. Those first ones were male. These ones are the females. And that's not bad. This is probably, I've been guessing, between 7 and 9 pounds. It might be 10 or 11, I'm not sure. It's pretty hefty though. And so far, I guess I've shot 5 today. I shot 12 previously. I had 17 fish for the year. 17 carp so far since they started coming up in the shallows to spawn. Out of the first dozen, 11 of them were male and only 1 was a female. The males kind of get excited about the whole spawning season, their breeding season, and come rushing into the shallows and be waiting, so that way when the females get there, they're the first males who get to, you know, pass on their seed to the next generation. Right now, I just got out of 5, 2 females and 3 males. So, of course, when I saw these first 2, these 2 females are the first 2 I shot, I think. And I was aiming for the big ones, which the big old belly big ones, females. That makes sense. They got a lot of eggs in them. They can have about 250,000 eggs in them. But this is all just part of trying to get really good at what I do, trying to be a master of my domain, trying to learn the resources in my area. This is a resource. A bit ago, the suckers were spawning. Now, I think that's pretty much done for me for the year, so I can't get any more of those. All the ones I was going to get bow fishing during the spring spawn for them is done. Now it's time for the carp. Whatever I get during this little season is what I get, and that's it. You know, I've got nothing else. If I don't get them now, I don't get them this year. So I've got to get out there and get my things done. I'm just trying to juggle this. I need a bigger table to accomplish this. I'm just gonna set this guy back here. Oh, and I don't know if you guys can see that. Look at all those eggs there. See that? There's so many eggs there. Like I said, they can have up to 250,000. And then they can spawn 4 times a year, so they can put out potentially 1,000,000 eggs. But trying to master my domain, do the best job I can. I got these 5 fish and 5 shots, and I wasn't there long, maybe 10 to, well, 15 to 20 minutes. And part of it was I was filming it for my backup channel. And if something happens to this, please feel free to subscribe to our fishing channel as a backup in case this one gets taken away. While it may be sad to even have to mention things like that, I understand I'm a guest in somebody else's house. This is just my channel on their platform. They're the ones who run the platform. And if they don't want me here, they can get rid of me just like that. So consider doing so if you haven't done already. This was a cool shot here, by the way. This big old mama I'm filleting, the shot was right there in the head. And that means I didn't waste any meat. When I shot it, I didn't lose any meat because I didn't shoot it in the meat. So I'm not aware of any way where if that either is reality or maybe reality, becomes reality, where I can protect myself. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I can plead the fifth, but I don't know, I can't really hide all my birds, you know, and I'm not gonna lie about it even if I hid my birds. What do you do in a situation like that? And I think that's where part of it is, I don't know, what's up with this 6 too? They talk about 6 feet and other stuff, now they're talking about within a 6-mile radius. What's the fascination with that? How kind of scientific is that to always have a 6 be the number? Is that reality or is that something else? I mean, I remember walking around stores looking at all sorts of little X's they had on the floor and being like, oh no! And people would be like, what? And I said, well, what if things mutate and it's able to move like 6.5 feet or 7 feet? You'll have to move all your little X's on the floor. You know, they'd just sit there looking at you dumbfounded. But I mean, that's the reality of it, right? Somehow 5.5 miles is danger zone, 6.5 miles is safety. Like, really? Because I got birds. I just heard one. Hear them all? They land on my property. If there's something being transferred from bird to bird, and I got birds that land on my property that have no problem flying 10 miles away, and showing up at your property, what in the world does a 6-mile radius help with? You know? The problem is too many people for too long have told me too many lies for me to take them as credible witnesses. That's the problem. They messed that up for themselves. And that's just the way I see it. There's only so long you can lie to me and have me believe you after I find out you lied to me. Look at that. Ugh. That is awesome. That's why I do what I do. So many people just shoot this and throw this on the shore. Tell you what, we learned how to get so much out of this fish ahead of time that if things ever get really bad, when everyone else is just starting to try to figure out how to get the food out of here, because they're like, oh, I'm not gonna throw them on the shore anymore, now I need them to eat. Well, they go spend $5-6 for a little can of tuna at the store, or a can of salmon at the store. Maybe $3-4 for a, you know, decent can of tuna. Whole time I'm feasting on this, then later they're gonna be scrambling trying to figure out, how do I get the food out of here? We mastered that stuff ahead of time in just a couple years, you know. So I haven't really kept up on the news with how things are spreading, with what's happening. I know that all sorts of different hatcheries or different things, there's a lot of them shutting down or cutting back. We got our shipments for the year. I ordered a special shipment of some certain birds from Cackle Hatchery. We got some Splash Americanas, and then to save on shipping, we just ordered a variety pack of their exotics. Looked like we got some Cochins probably, and then a good section of Polish ones, which are the ones with the cool hair, the cool feather tops. Yeah, and then we got our meat chickens for the year already. And we like using dual purpose for the eggs, where we're eating the males as we just hatch out the babies of those two. Nothing wrong with that, but we don't mind running some meat birds while we have the opportunity. So we're doing that right now, and we already got both shipments of those in. But we do got an order of turkeys coming in later this year. In the last Fillet With Me video, I mentioned hopefully building a smokehouse soon. I want to smoke some of this if I do. But that we were at a friend's house smoking some meat and smoked up our big male turkey we had. That was so good. Very tasty. Definitely enjoyed that. And look forward to taking out the female turkey here soon, which we still have, but then also to getting a shipment of turkeys, I think in July. I don't know. Are they going to have to refund our money and not ship them out, or will we still be able to get them by then? You know, as everything gets disrupted and everything becomes more difficult and more expensive, it's going to be harder and harder and harder to do the things that you want to do in your life, especially if you're thinking about heading out of the cities, returning to the country, taking stewardship of a land that isn't zoned to craziness, that isn't restricted into oblivion, where it's your property because you get to pay property tax for it every year, even if you buy it outright, but you can't really do anything you want to do in it. The HOA or the city ordinances or the different stuff. So if you're trying to get out of all that, back to the country, take stewardship of some stuff, every year it seems a little more harder. Every year it seems a little more expensive. But if that's the trend, then it's kind of now or never. Then, okay, if it's harder now than it was 10 years ago, do it now. Don't wait another 10, or you're going to be in for some trouble. But this is the last fillet. So, as far as fillet fish with me is concerned for this round, wow, I'm going to show you these eggs. But the filleting is just about over. Look in there. Do you see all those tiny little balls? Those are all little babies. Well, the baby eggs. They got to get what we call the milk from the males. The males will ram up against the females, and they'll kind of be smashing into them, pushing those eggs out, and while they're doing that, they're squirting the milk on them, and that'll fertilize them, and then allow them to hatch and get a whole pile of baby carp in that lake, which for a while will be food for the herons and water snakes and bigger fish, and then eventually food for us when they get bigger. But main points of this video, guys, I don't know about that stuff with that club for kids, with the fairs they have, with the programs they offer. Sometimes the more in you give government entities, the more rule you get over you. You know, the more you got to comply with, the more things you sign up for, the more things you participate in. Try to be more self-sufficient, try to be more independent. I just think it's wise because I know that I truly have my best interest and the best interest of my family in mind. Politicians will say it. They'll say they do. And they're going to help me, and they're going to care about me, and they're going to, you know, do these things. But for so many decades, I can prove that they were lying when they said that. So should I still believe them when they say it now? Did they really repent and change their ways? Or are they the same guys up to the same old stuff? You tell me. And that said, I know from my personal testimony, from my own evaluation of my own life, I do have my family's best interests in mind. So I'm going to be doing the things that I think make sense, that supply us with what we need to carry on. For instance, if I buy something put it in storage here. When I want to get it later, I'm going to let me go get it later. If I trust that the store is going to let me go get it later, they may not. There was a time 2 years ago, you couldn't buy fishing lures or garden seeds at certain stores even though they were sitting on the shelf. Don't forget, that's where we were at. What if that happens next year? You got the seeds you need already? You got the fishing supplies you need already? You got the hunting equipment you need already? Because if you don't, it might be non-essential in a couple of years. You might not be able to get it. And next time it goes non-essential, it might never come back. That's just reality. People wouldn't think that would ever happen in this country. But now we know from history, it just did. And it may again. So the fish is cleaned. I'll see you guys next time. Papa out.
Thank you for watching. Hit the like button. Thumbs up. For real.
The cow head is good?
Yeah.
That's because you know.